This content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If
Oh.
you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no
a
one.
second.
Oh, no.
We return to our planet. The High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the world. I'm SeptumSin. I'm here with Joel D. Wynkoop, actor, director, producer, writer, many things. I admit, when I first heard of you, it was Clownado. I like interesting films, but I'm very much a fan of anybody who's doing some of the independent work, because that's where the creativity is these days. I don't really see it as much in, well, high budget. I see it occasionally, but I admit, the studios don't let you be as creative, in my opinion. But today we're going to talk about the Craiglon incident series, the trilogy. I have all three of them on my shelf back here.
All right.
As a matter of fact, just put them away. I watched them on a small screen out of town. So I just had a couple of questions. I was glad that you could come on. Thank you again for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
No, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
So when I saw the series, I had to try to use it for my newer deep dive series, where I go a little bit more in depth with the film to try and do a little bit more to project and help get some of these out there. What was the inspiration to create the Craiglon series?
I had no intention of doing a movie at the time. We were working on a movie I called Beast Mode, and it had Debbie Rochon and Lloyd Kaufman. We shot all the Debbie scenes and all Lloyd. Lloyd had like 5 scenes in the movie. Debbie had like 6. So it was really spread out through the movie. And then we shot some other scenes, and then here comes Mr. COVID knocking at the door and basically just shut everything down, because I wanted to do it like I did Creep back in 1995, and it was very handsy. It was grabbing the girls, shaking them, throwing them on the bed, slamming them against the walls, really going psychotic like I did in Creep. And because of COVID, I couldn't do that. So we're watching the news one night, and this is right when it hit. I tell my wife, I go, "What are they saying on the news? I can't go outside my house?" She goes, I go, because they're saying, don't go downtown, don't go here, don't go there. It's COVID. You got to stay in your house. Stay safe, like it was an alien invasion. And my wife says, "No, you can go somewhere, but they just don't want you hanging out somewhere." And I go, so I'm like, well, that kind of sucks. They're telling us this. Nobody's going to tell me to stay home. I'm going to go make a movie on my front porch. So I went out, and my wife came with me. I asked her, I said, "Honey, just would you hold the camera and shoot me talking to the camera? And then I want you to switch places with me and talk to another me, talking to the other me, and I'm going to cut it together." So we shot the scene on the front porch. I came in, I kind of cut it together, looked at it. It looks really dumb and silly. And then, but all of a sudden, then I called Phil Herman, and I go, "Hey, Phil, I was going to make a dumb little video here if you want to be part of it." And he's like, "Yeah, anything for you, Joel." And the next thing you know, and then I get Sean C. Phillips on the phone, and I go, "Sean, you want to be in this little silly thing I'm doing?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I go, "It's not going to go anywhere. It's just a little fun video I'm doing." So they jump on board, and then I start doing it. And first of all, I got 7 minutes of video, and I go, "Yeah, this is kind of funny." And then all of a sudden, 7 minutes turned into 15, turned into 20, turned into 40, turned into 45, turned into 2 hours. Actually, it turned into 6 hours, but I couldn't get 6 hours on a DVD, so I had to break it up in 2 hours of DVD. Now, 2 reasons I do this. One, I think I just recently related this to like a box of cereal. How would you like your box of cereal come to you, and you open the box of cereal and you open up the little wax bag to pour your cereal out, and it's only half a bag? Don't you want that bag to be filled to the top with cereal? I do. So when I buy a DVD, I don't want a 40-minute movie. I want a 2-hour movie on that. I want everything you can pack on that DVD. I want it. So I said, so I ended up with 6 hours. So now I'm making the first movie. Now I'm a quarter of the way into the first movie editing. And I asked my wife, I go, hey, or I was probably like 20 minutes into it. And I asked my wife, because she does a lot of acting too. And I said, you want to be in this? And she looked at me and she looked at the editing screen and she goes, nah, I don't think so. And I go, okay, that's fine. I just wanted to ask you. As the movie goes on, I'm about halfway into the movie. She sees Debbie Rochon and Rick Danford and Phil Herman and Sean C. Phillips and all these other actors on the big screen. That's the big conference thing with when everybody's on the screen. And she comes in and taps me on the shoulder and she goes, could I be in this? And I go, I thought you didn't want to be in it. She goes, no, I do now. She goes, it looks really good. Or she ended up being one of those people in the conference. She was one of the agents for the Astronomical Search Team Reinforcement Organization. And so then she wanted to be in it. And then I finished that. And I always knew that scene was going to be very lengthy with everybody from Astro. And I said, the point of it is not to be lengthy. I want people to look at it for the humor of it, especially when I got to the point where 3 of the superheroes are arguing with each other. And one of the superheroes is going, by the way, he wets his bed. And the other one goes, I do not wet my bed. He goes, yes, you do, Wade. And then to me, it was funny. It took it away. But a lot of people did write me and they go, the scene kind of goes on and on. And I go, yeah, I know. But like I said, when I got to the point about the humor, I wanted that humor there. And the rest of it, I knew this movie was going to go on. So I wanted something for people, if I did have a part 3 or part 4, they could think back to part 1 and go, oh, those are those dudes that were in that video conference, or not a conference, but, it showed everybody at once. So that's why I did that, The only thing I didn't like is I was trying to get the movie done. Now I'm close to being done with the first one. And there's a convention coming up. And I didn't have time to watch it. I only watched it on my computer. And on the computer, everything looked perfect. Because the computer lies to you. Once I got it burned to a DVD and watched it, then I saw like there was the worst audio jump is when Parsons is talking. And I had to dub it. And when I'm doing it like, hey, how's it going? It came out, what are you doing? And it just bolts out of the television edge. And I go, well, at least I'll wake somebody up if they're sleeping. And they'll be like, oh, what happened? Yeah, let me watch the rest of this movie. So some of those things I hated, especially in the first one. And some people would have perfect audio and other people wouldn't have such perfect audio. And the reason for that is I'm getting footage from Japan and the Netherlands and Minnesota and California. And everybody's shooting on something different, whether it's picture camera, a big red camera, a little shitty Super 8 camera. And then you got to take all that audio and try and match it. And I don't have a big editing system like that. And even if you did, it would still be a pain in the ass because you're getting all kinds of formats. But I was still happy with the outcome. I thought the story was, it got you going too. It's like, and I probably could have told all the story in one, but not without chopping the hell out of it. So, I wanted it that way. So when I did finally get it done, even after I watched it and said, oh, it's kind of rough there, I enjoyed it and I liked it. And I think the majority of the people like it and enjoy it. They can look past some of those things that are in, indie movies that aren't in a Universal Studios release. And, but yeah, so that was the real drawback for me. And then I hope to get better with part 2 and I think I did. And then I think part 3 was better, but a lot of it was to do with all the other audio sources. When I do my own stuff, it's perfect. It's right on. It sounds great, but it's these other sources trying to match them. And, and other people have these editors that got the little thing that shows the audio here and this audio here, and you boost it, then it brings the audio up. But then you still got background. You got to take out, you got to reduce the background. I didn't have all that stuff. I'm just like, I just want to entertain you for a couple hours. If you hate it, you hate it. If you get a chuckle out of it and you're laughing at it and you enjoy it, that's even better.
Oh, and I got a lot out of these. There are a lot of films that I couldn't watch one time through, but I've watched these 6 times through each.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
so
Thank you.
I noticed a lot of the donated materials. Well, that's why I call it. I don't know if it really was. How was that like gained? Did you just like say, "Hey guys, do you want to be in this? Let me send you the script," or "Hey, here's a scenario. Just act this out for me, and then give me your best." How did that go?
Yeah, it's like I just did a radio show this morning with I was looking for my notes, but I guess they're gone. But they're called Retro Movie Geek, and they do a lot of movies and stuff like that. Like Hollywood, where they might talk about Beverly Hills Cop or RoboCop or Evil Dead or something. But I know the guy Joel Robertson, so he calls me up and he wants to talk about my movies, and that was one of the questions he asked. In fact, I told him, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't mean to sound like that." And I go, "No, it's okay," because I told him about what you had said too, about did the people just shoot their own scenes and send it to me, and I tried to work it in. No, everything was scripted. I mean, I didn't have one big script, but I had it in my head. And I go, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then I would type up the scenes. So like for Dean Houlihan, who is in Ireland, he wrote me on Facebook. He goes, man, I'd really like to be in one of your movies, Joel. I've seen all your stuff. I'd like to be in one. I go, have you got a camera? And he goes, yeah, I got the such and such camera, which that's way over my head. I don't know. I know what the red is big. So he explains the camera. He goes, I can do all that. And I go, well, and then I wrote the story I need. I need an abandoned building for you to run into. And he says, yeah, let's, I can do that with, I got an old abandoned church here, all busted up windows, and it looks really, run down. And I said, that would be perfect. And he went out, and then I just sent him the script of what I needed him to do inside the church. And he shot all the scenes. And I told him at the end, you're going to bring out a camera that you set up, and you'll be talking straight into the camera, because that was best for me. But story wise, in case his character was killed, he had his last will and testament kind of on his video camera. So, people would find out why he disappeared. And then I told him I needed a window in the background, because I'm going to have my effects guy put an alien in there. And I got Gerardo, who's my FX guy in Australia. He put the alien in the back window. And then, well, you've seen the movie. He's like, the aliens are getting close. Oh, no, they broke in. And then he screams, and you see the laser beam come in and hit him. And then he's disintegrated. So, yes, every single thing I had, and nothing was it was off the top of my head, but everything had dialogue, including my stuff for my wife when she's in the park doing the thing where Cooper Parsons, the alter counterpart of Parsons Cooper Parsons, comes to her Earth and gets into her newscast. Kathy, that was all scripted too. She had to, learn the lines. I always tell her, I go, baby, I'm not your husband now. Now I'm the director. Do what I say. But every character I had, and then I think you pointed out you liked seeing him come back in the second one, and you got to see what happened to him, because the guy says, I'm going to evaporate you with my evaporation ray. And that's something I shot way back at the very beginning, and that's the humor I'm going for. I wasn't looking for someone to say, oh, I couldn't even. No, it was the humor. It was a little Post-it note, and it had a little red circle, and I go, and it said Destructo Ray or something like that, and then my finger comes down and hits the button, and that's what makes the beam come down and hit the car. That's what I was looking for, all the cheesy stuff I could. And I don't know if you noticed, another thing about the whole Craiglon incident, all three of them, you can make a game out of this. If people can pay attention and not let it go over their head, they would have a blast trying to pick this stuff out. Because in the first one, my character, Parsons Cooper, is talking to his alternate self, the alien that became him. Also, we say in the movie, it's explained, they go, don't get within 6 feet of the aliens because they can duplicate you. I said that because you weren't supposed to get within 6 feet of people during COVID.
Yeah.
So I worked that into the movie, and I don't know if people catch that. Also, the clone of me, the alien clone, he got 6 feet, so he was able to transform his body into me. You see that happen. And then he's at the doorstep, and he says, because all you people of Earth are stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. That's from Plan 9 from Outer Space. These are intentional things I put in there for people to see and go, oh, shit, that's from Plan 9 from Outer Space. Also, there's one in Part 2 when he's trying to save the people of the walled city of Kandor. He goes, if I don't guard this, and keep the aliens from coming over the wall. All these people will be killed. I must protect them. The line must be drawn here. That's Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek Generations. There's a scene where one of my actors, Warner, he's out in the woods with his machine gun and he's fighting the aliens. This is in part 3. And he goes, and he does his communicator on his ear and he goes, to my wife and children, I love you. I don't know if I'll make it out of this. It may be a suicide mission, but as Dean Winchester once said, I prefer to go down swinging. That's from Supernatural, where Dean Winchester said that. He's explaining to the sheriff about all the demons were going to come and they're going to kill everybody on Earth. And Dean says, I don't care. I'll go out swinging. I'll take my knife and I'll stab them and slash them and I'll fight to the bloody end. And I meant to watch it like you did and make myself notes because there's a ton of them in there that talk about references to movies. And it's what? Yeah, Kathy does a scene where I had her say, I go, say that. She didn't, I don't think she knew what she was saying it for when I told her. I go, right here, I want you to say for the audio, the dub-in audio part, when the two guys were talking, David Vogel and Ron Windows are talking back to each other. And I had Kathy in the background go, because the cars are being blown up in the background, but nobody pays attention to the cars, which is my humor again. Yeah. And Kathy yells, these aliens hate these cars. That's from Steve Martin and The Jerk. These guys hate these. They hate these cans. Even it's not the cans. It's the cans aren't defective. There's a defective person out there. So that's my humor. And Monty Python and Martin Lewis. It's all in those movies. And if people sit down and watch it, they would get that. It'd be like playing a game. You know, they have the notepad and go, oh, number 9, Star Trek Generations, stuff like that. So that, to me, that's what made it fun, you know?
I did catch a number of them, but I couldn't catch all of it. I try to work on it, though, and there was a lot of entertaining stuff there. I love the scene. I did love that scene from the 3rd movie where the guy did go into the church. And I felt bad because originally when I filmed the review, I had skipped past because I kept grouping it in my head with the people up in the mountains. Just like with Kyle's scene at the beginning of the 3rd film. Even though it was a dream, I kept grouping him in with those mountain people. So I kept saying, he should be in that because he should be there.
Originally, I'll tell you this, and Kyle, if you're listening, I love you, buddy. And I never brought it up to Kyle because Kyle was just so sweet, so nice, and so kind. And I just didn't have the whatever to get in touch with him and say, Kyle, I need you to go back out and shoot the scene you forgot to shoot. He was supposed to be in the scene with everybody else in the forest. But what Kyle forgot to do is he runs out and he shoots the aliens. But I needed a shot, which I provided the aliens. Of course, he's just in the woods. But I needed a shot of him going, no, ah! And a beam hits him and then disintegrates him. So he didn't give me that. The only thing he gave me was firing the machine gun. And when he sent it to me, I was like, oh, thank you, buddy. Thank you so much. But the whole time I'm going, I don't want to ask this guy to go back out in the woods. So all of a sudden it came to me. I said, I'll give Kyle the opening of the movie. It'll be a dream sequence. But the only thing I really missed in the dream sequence, and you always think of these things when it's too late. I should have him woke up in bed with that toy machine gun going, Craiglon or Cromley, and then run out of the scene. That would explain the nightmare even more, that he went to bed with his little toy machine gun and he had a dream about fighting aliens. So I didn't think about it till later. But that's why I didn't do it. I didn't have those scenes from Kyle forgot to shoot, I think, the last part that I needed. So I didn't sweat it. I said, you know what, I'm just, but to Kyle, I said, you're going to be the very beginning. You're the first thing people see. And I think he liked that too. It made his scene really special. So, and he was so nice every time I would talk to him on the phone or on Facebook. Such a very, very nice guy.
Oh yeah, great guy. I have enjoyed working with him when I've gotten the chance, and look forward to any type in the future. As a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I noticed, like, of course, the sound. I admit I was a critic on the sound, and I understand the challenge. I did explain when I said it. You know, yes, these are the challenges when you've got it. But there were some things I thought were very entertaining, and maybe you can enlighten me a little bit on this. I noticed whenever you and Dawes, I think Phil Herman, right?
Phil Herman, yep. Yeah.
So whenever you all would have the conversation, it almost came across like a dubbed martial arts film.
Yeah. That,
And,
honestly, I could try and sound like some guy that's trying to get out of it by going, "Oh, you're absolutely right." But no, you are absolutely right, because there was one scene where he's doing Jacker and he's on television, and Phil cracked up because he goes, "You did it like a spaghetti western with Clint Eastwood." I go, I'm saying, I'm the Jacker and I do anything I want. The lips didn't even get close to matching, but I wanted it that way. Now, there was a scene where Phil was talking and Phil's voice was too low. So, but what was neat about it, I adopted his voice. I kept practicing to do Phil's voice, and I got it down pretty well, I think, because when Phil watched the movie, he goes, I don't want to be a dummy, but was that you talking or was that me talking? I go, no, I was doing your voice. He goes, you fooled me. I thought that was me. So that was great to hear.
Was it a challenge for you to play so many roles? Because you were not only all the different versions of yourself in the multiverse, but you were other characters too throughout. Some of them I had missed the first time because like the film would be in a different type of lens or thing. But then I was like, oh, it was almost like picking out versions of you hidden in the background as well. How challenging was that?
Well, it was, and I'll pick one of them right now because I remember you saying this about the guy when my wife and I are in the car wash, and I'm strangling her in the car wash, and it all warps and pulls and stuff. That's one of the first things we did too, because I just wanted to shoot a scene inside of a car wash. I did it once with Tim Ritter. Me and his wife or Tim and his wife are in the car coming out of the car wash, and then I'm on the outside of the car wash, and I throw a Molotov cocktail and hits their car, and it blows up. So I've always wanted to do a car wash scene. Every time we go through our car wash, I go, I want to shoot a scene in here. So that character was supposed to be her husband that had been taken over, that an alien took over his look, and he's in the car wash, and this is when he's first telling her, we're the Cromley, I'm going to kill you. So that was me doing that. And then, of course, Parsons Cooper. In the park, I was doing Cooper Parsons. And then I did those drunks when you were saying about there's a lot of drunk people in here. That was those were fun. I said, I got to have one and then I played the reporter in a suit and tie. I come to the door, I knock, I open up the door from the inside in my bathrobe and a beer. How's it going, buddy? Have a beer. No, sir, I'm just here from the News Corporation. We want to talk to you about a UFO flying. I told them, guys, it flew over that guy's house. Parsons Cooper. I'm Jim. So those I love to do, and you just can be a complete goofball. And I had lots of fun doing it with the drunk thing. But in part 3, and I don't know a lot of people, because I'll give a good example. Phil Herman's wife, Nancy, she's watching part 3 with Phil, and she goes, I don't get it. Why is Joel at the beginning of the movie as all these other different characters? Who are all these different people Joel's trying to do? And Phil goes, baby, you haven't seen all his movies. That guy there's Nick Hazard. He's from The Bite. That guy there's Dan Hess. He's from Joel's television show, The Other Side. That guy's Steve Nakota from Lost Faith. That guy's from Nick Hazard from The Bite. That guy's Cope Ransom from the Alien Agenda, Endangered Species. So those are, if people that like my movies or have seen a lot of my movies and they see that, hopefully they got a kick out of that going, Joel's playing all his characters and they're all talking to each other. And I don't know if you missed it, but when Parsons first arrived, because I missed doing it, but I had to dub it in. But Parsons arrives, what you were saying, looks like a storage unit. It does, but how I covered it up, because it was the best place I could shoot something. I could just go to my storage unit and shoot it there and cover their signs up. But when I first appear there in that blue ray, and then as it goes around the corner, you hear my voice as Parsons Cooper say, looks like an Astro storage facility. It's like the aliens knew what, where Parsons was, and all these other people were at Astro, Astronomical Search Team Reinforcement Organization. So they took that and they made a replica of it and put it into the negative zone type area, which I took from Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four. I think mine was the Nexus, actually from Star Trek. But it was the same idea, because the negative zone is where a nihilist stayed, and Reed Richards had to keep the portal closed, and Johnny Storm died out there. So I wanted to do that with all the floating rocks. So, but you guessed it right. It was the place for all of them to meet and let them each know. I kind of went overboard because everybody kind of said the same things. I hope people are forgiving on that. But basically, they're just meeting. Maybe they would say the same thing. One guy shows up and goes, "Hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'm here because the aliens told me." Yeah, I'm here because the aliens told me too. You know, and that's what the whole thing about that was. I always wanted to mix characters from my other movies. I did it in The Bite, and then Mark Nash's Raging Bells. His character meets Marley Fanson is from the Raging Bells, and he meets Nick Hazard in my movie The Bite, and they fight each other. So I love that, crossing over things. It's like crossing over Adam 12 with Emergency when they did that. And TV shows now that they do it all the time. The one television show, a 911, the 911 Texas one merged with the 911 in Los Angeles, and they run the characters together. And that's what I wanted to do, because I grew up, you know, Adam 12 and Emergency, they crossed over, and when all these TV shows are, and I love that. They should have done it with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman should have been with Superman, you know, or Adam West with Batman.
I thought that was an interesting way to do the exposition for what was going on in the previous two films. You're able to catch up the audience, but still move the plot.
Yeah.
And I did like it better than the second film. I admit there was another one when I covered way back when I did the Camp Blood series. I had been talking with that person that did it and said, yeah, we were told that we had to use all this old stuff from the first one, so they ran almost half the movie. Oh. And I was giving flashbacks in the second film from that, I admit. But there was a lot of good material after that made up for it in my mind.
Well, I like the opening, because what I wanted was for people to see the first movie.
Yeah.
But then I said, what if people that are seeing the second movie didn't see the first movie? So why don't I retell the story? But I do admit I went a little long with the destruction of the world. But then I said, well, I want to show that this is happening everywhere, and I want all that dialogue in there, because I even included, when I was mentioning the things I made up, like Astro, which is Astronomical Search Team Reinforcement Organization, and I'm saying the military base, the Navy, and then I threw in even S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a Marvel Comics thing. I wanted all that stuff in there, and I said, you know what, it runs a little long, and it was really hard to do, because my wife dubbed the thing, her voice, but I had to balance the music and all the explosions, and I ended up doing that like 9-10 times before I finally got the copy that actually got out there. But I wanted to retell the beginning in case if someone didn't watch part one, part two, they can catch up.
Oh, I love the demolition of the buildings and the exposition at the beginning. For me, it was I guess when it did that, it went to a different little scene. Then it went back and it replayed the scenes where you had met the aliens for the first time and then talked with Emil and all of them.
Yeah.
But again, that's coming from somebody who just watched the first film like 5 times and then started coming into it. So keep in mind that when I went to that, it was more of a, I know I've seen this before, but I loved the way that the exposition was at the beginning of that. I do like I think your wife's voiceover did a really good job of helping get the establishment going, especially if there's like some time in between these movies. Yeah,
and there is supposed to be I don't think I specified. I think at one point I say 2 or 3 years, because I remember my wife going, it's only been 2. I go, not in movie terms, it's been 3. But that was the idea, to have her. And then she was in my television show too. I had a TV show ran here on the air for like 2 years, 10 years ago. It was called Joel D. Wynkoop's The Other Side. It was a sci-fi. I was doing my talk show, and I was right in the middle of the talk show, and I just got bored with interviewing people, and I go, I don't want to do this anymore. But I was already with the studio, and I go, I got to give them something Friday, because I would do my shows the same week. They would go on. I'd do my shows on Monday, have the whole week to do them in Edmond, and then they'd run on Saturday or Friday and Saturday nights, or Saturday and Sundays. And so Kathy was in that, and you'll see a scene in there with my friend Anthony Wayne is in that. When she's talking, it's showing an episode of The Other Side, the 9th episode, I think. And then that kind of explains. So that's another thing. I got to not only explaining my movie, now I'm explaining my television show at the same time.
Oh,
So yeah, it was a matter of just putting all that stuff together, which a lot of people wouldn't know. They might be like, I don't know who the guys in these trench coats and what she's talking about, trying to go catch bad guys. So that was my whole TV show, was about these guys that would go to alternate worlds and get people that jumped through a black hole and they went to make their life better on an alternate Earth, and then they'd have to bring them back. That was the opening. Right after you hear all about the buildings blowing up, then Kathy comes in and she's chasing another one that I was playing, my character, and she's saying, "Come on, I got to take you back." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go back." And then she finally zaps me, and then an alien comes, and he's like, it's like the aliens know who she is, and she knew them because she helped them one time in the past. And they're like, "Emma Crusher, you need to come with us. You need to battle these monsters." And she's kind of like, "Well, I'm busy doing my own thing here." And they're like, "Well, we need you." And she's like, "Okay, give me a weapon." And then she's on her way. And then you see her throughout the movie, as well as Parsons and Emil and Dawes, fighting the aliens, amongst everything else that's going on.
And she was the alternate Emil's sister, if I recall correctly.
That's right. And I remember you saying that too. And that's another thing. And Sean, don't get mad at me. And Sean C. Phillips can remember this. I sent him like 5 pages of dialogue, and it was all about meeting his sister Emma. Emma comes to Sean C. Phillips, to Emil's character, and I was going to shoot Kathy's scenes here, and I needed Sean to shoot his in San Diego. And I think I scared him because I've got complete description of what goes on, and then I got, cut to this and that. Sean, you'll say this. Kathy says this. He took one look at it, and he got back to me on Facebook. He goes, "I don't want to do that. I just want to run around and shoot aliens." So that whole backstory was lost because Emma was supposed to come to him and say, I know your sister died in your timeline, but on my Earth, I'm alive and well, and I'm fighting for an organization, and we're bringing back, and now I've been taken on by it was going to be a whole thing where Sean had this big conversation with Emma, but then he just wrote me back and he goes, "I just want to run around and shoot aliens." That's why his scene is very, very short. I stretched it as much as I could, but he goes, "I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore."
And he did do a good job doing the more of the comedic shooting of the aliens.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted cool duder. I told him that. I go, "I want you guys out there. I go to shoot the aliens." That's what I wanted. And he did it. No, Sean was great because he would, anything I needed, he got back to me almost immediately. I would say 99% of the movie, he got back to me just like that. But the thing with Emma, I think he saw that 6-page script, and I don't think he even read it. But it have made his scene a lot more and bigger. And I tried to get him to leave his house to go out and shoot, and he was like so afraid of being busted by the cops. I go, "It's all right, buddy. Just what you got is good." And then Phil made up for it. Phil, the cops weren't looking, and he ducked under the no trespassing sign, and he got out into this place he's not supposed to be. And he shot all his scenes for me. Yeah. And he came out, and the cops were waiting for him. They actually caught him. They go, "We could bust you for that. We told you not to go in there." He goes, "But my buddy Joel Wynkoop needs some footage in Florida." And they go, "Who? My buddy Joel." "Forget it. Please don't arrest me."
I'm out to actually check out some of his films as well. I really do wish I had been into your work a lot more before I got into this. I think I would have gotten even more out of these films, that's going to be remedied in time.
Great.
To be sure. I've got that along with some other stacks that I am going to dive into. Cool. Now, I noticed the multiverse used, and I noticed a lot of comic references. I mean, shoot, you killed the Flash and took his head in that scene, which is an awesome looking sculpt, by the way, of the Flash, life-size sculpt, it looks like.
Wait, what are you talking about? Are you talking about
one of the scenes when you're in Egypt and you're holding up the head? One of them is the Flash, where
it's not. It wasn't the Flash. That head was used in about 6 or 7 different movies. It started in Wicked Games. Dan Rebert, the guy that did a lot of the effects on the first Terminator, he sculpted that head. And the reason we sculpted that head to an actor's face, sculpted the head, or Dan Rebert did in Los Angeles, sent us the head, and then the actor that the head was sculpted from quit, didn't want to do the movie anymore. So one day we're at the beach shooting a different scene for Wicked Games. And my partner, Tim Ritter, he goes, Joel, you see that guy over there in that car? I go, yeah. He looks just like the head. Go see if he'll be in the movie. So I went over to the guy and I said, excuse me, sir. And he goes, yeah. And I go, we're filmmakers. I'm Joel Wynkoop. That's my partner over there, Tim Ritter. Your head looks just like this decapitated head we have. Would you be in our movie? And we'll pay you. And I said, you're going to be in it with real 3 hot girls, and they're going to be naked climbing all over. And he's like, oh, sign me up. I'll be in that movie. So he came out. We shot his scene, and that head looks like him, and him looks like the actor that was supposed to play the head that was sculpted after the original act. But that's the first time I've walked up to somebody and said, you look like this decapitated head we have over here. Will you be in our movie?
The best pitch to do.
Yeah.
Now
but that's what that head was. It was supposed to be, that was something that was in the first conversations on my porch, like the first 15 minutes of the movie when I'm talking to Phil. So I was just making up crap because I didn't know this was going to go anywhere. So I was like, you got to go to Egypt and you got to dig up the head of Gabatu. Oh, and then Phil's like, oh yeah, go to Egypt and dig up the head of Gabatu. Okay, I'm leaving. And then we had the plane taken off. And then where am I going to do Egypt? So I go in my backyard. I got a fence in the backyard. I call my buddy Jason LaCory. Can you get the fence out of there and put the ocean or pyramids? And then he put the pyramids in, but they were moving. And I go, how am I going to explain that? So I went out and shot a scene where I'm on the phone. I go, yeah, I'm in Egypt, but I'm on the boat right now. We got all the relics are on the boat because it was going up and but the cheesy stuff, something Ed Wood would have done way back in the day. He did find the buffalo are all excited.
Well, you had to deal with what you got and move what works.
Yeah.
Now, was the multiverse kind of like comic book inspired, like Infinite Earths, or I guess even with the recent Marvel movies, they're diving into the multiverse with the SpiderVerse, and then you've got the new Doctor Strange film. They're just really kind of going all into the multiverse now.
Yeah.
You
Mine
kind of
was
beat 'em
actually
to the punch.
Yeah. Well, when people think, when people think of Marvel, Marvel always had it. It was never shown. Like their Earth was 606. Our Earth was like Earth 2 and Earth 4 of the DC universe. But I was a fan of those in 77, Crisis on Infinite Earths. When that book came out, I got all of those. You know, Supergirl died. Flash was running so fast that he could, and they're going to put that in the television series, which is going to be awesome. Or either that or the movie. The Flash is moving fast through time. He sees Batman. They're going to cut Adam West in and Linda Carter from Wonder Woman, which I think is awesome. So in Crisis on Infinite Earths, all the Earths were converging from the multiverse. And that's what made me a fan of that stuff. So right before, years before Spider-Man was coming out with even the animated, the SpiderVerse, or even the most recent one, or Doctor Strange Multiverse, I did it, but it was in my head from the DC Comics way back in 70, because they redid Crisis, or did another one in 2000, but I was talking about the ones in 77.
Yeah.
And that's where all my ideas came from, the multiverse. And then it was funny because right after the movie came out, all of a sudden I saw all this stuff about multiverse all over the place, the movies and television shows. And I said, I know I didn't start it because I got it from the comic books in 77 when I was younger. But it was still funny to see that after I launched, my movies they're all about the multiverse. All these other multiverse things came out.
So I want to say that, well, I don't know if it beat Spider-Verse, but I know it definitely beat the MCU's thing when they did that on the and yeah, I of course I wasn't around in 77, but I definitely knew the comics when I was age to read it.
Yeah.
But I definitely, because I got into comics in the 80s, started collecting in the 90s, and then kind of got out of it and now read just passively. So I have definite knowledge of some of it. So I got a lot of the extra references that were around. It's kind of
that's good. Yeah.
So it's definitely a better age to be a comic book enthusiast now than it was when I was growing up. But
you got beat up then. Hey, I like Batman. I got Batman 12 here. Bam! Beat the crap out of him. He likes Batman. He's an idiot. Now you say you got Batman 12 and people are like, oh shit, that's awesome. Can I see it? No, it's protected in glass and it's at Fort Knox.
So I just have a couple more questions. I really do appreciate your time on this.
No, hey man, it's like I told the guys from the Retro Geek. I love this stuff, and it's anytime you can go on and be able to talk about your stuff, you should feel so indebted to the person like you or Joel Robertson, the people that are doing this, because it gives a person like me time to be able to talk about my products or what I'm doing. So anybody that does something, they should be thanking you, saying, hey man, thanks a lot for letting me do this with you.
Well, I do ask you to forgive my sense of humor because I do have a rather odd one. But a couple of things that may come across as that. Of course, I don't know why I kept thinking it was actually supposed to be you killing your wife in the car wash. Like this was Joel D. Wynkoop who was taken over by the aliens.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to when you said that, because I said, well, it's in the car wash. It's Parsons Cooper, but he's on an alternate world. This is Parsons Cooper. Now he's already been taken over by the alien, and that's when he grabs his wife. Who's I don't think Kathy gets shown as Parsons Cooper doesn't have a wife in the other alternate worlds, but in this one he did. So she thinks she's with her husband, which is a Parsons Cooper of a different world. Because if you watch it, you see the worlds are always going different. It says like I don't know. I think it describes something like Earth B16 Tarsion system and stuff like that. So that was one of them. Like, this was a guy that was a copycat of Parsons, had already been taken over. The alien already took over or made a clone of him. The wife thinks she's with her husband, but it's really the alien killing her in the car wash. But yeah, it's not me. It's Parsons Cooper, but one of his alien doppelgangers.
So what was it like working with Lloyd Kaufman? I've heard only good stuff, and I really kicked myself because I missed a chance to be in an interview with him. But I was trying not to overwhelm him with the number of people that we had there. But he did answer my duck question that I had, which which was great. But he seems like such a nice individual.
Lloyd has, since the day I met him in 2004 in Fort Lauderdale. Him and Herschel Gordon Lewis were there. And it was great to see them two together. And then I got to go up and meet Herschel and meet Lloyd, who later I would meet Herschel in 2009 again, but I originally met him way back in 2004. And that's where I met Lloyd. And, just went up, introduced myself, told him who I was. And then I would see Lloyd at all the conventions I was doing because Lloyd would be there. Lloyd is across the, I had a table here with Kathy and I were at, and Troma was right across from us. And Lloyd would be there, of course, so I would get to talk to him there. And then we had a convention in Tampa. It was a terrible convention. Only like 6 people came, and this poor guy just went broke running it. But Lloyd was there with Debbie Rashawn. She came down, so I got to hang out with Debbie. And then I worked with Debbie Rashawn on a couple of movies for Dustin Hubbard over in Sarasota. And so I've been seeing Lloyd at all these conventions. So I think I had contacted Lloyd again to be in the first Craiglon incident. But then I found out it didn't work itself into the movie until part 3 because it had to work into that whole big television. That's a 20-minute scene with, and that was very hard to shoot. It had to be me with a wig on watching TV that I'm on, and then I would reverse the angles. It was very complicated, and I was like, how am I going to put this all together? I have to have stuff on the screen. I have to be on the movie. I have to be watching myself with a wig on. I got to, this is great, the Joel Wynkoop. And I can work the nunchucks. When you're saying you got to be careful. No, I can whip them nunchucks around. I can make them sit up and down. I go hand to hand and over and back and around my neck and between my legs and out and around. So I can whale them things around. But so I got Lloyd. I contacted Debbie. I got Debbie. Lloyd was super nice too, because I go, Lloyd, I can pay you this amount. Not what you're, would get. It's what I can afford. And he goes, Joel, give mine to Debbie. So Debbie got twice her payment. So, because I got Debbie in it too, of course. And then I had Lloyd in that scene, but I didn't use it for a long time. Then meanwhile, Lloyd and Debbie are here guests at Tampa Bay Screams a couple years ago. And I told Debbie, I said, look, Debbie, if I pay you, and I'd like to pay Lloyd at Tampa Bay Screams, maybe I can get you up in the hotel room and we can shoot a scene with you. And Debbie was like, oh, love it. And of course, they're being compensated too. I'm not going to be cheap and go, can you come up and do it for free? I'm going to give them money, make it worth their while. So Lloyd agreed. I hung out with Lloyd all day. He was awesome. And then we went up, they came up to the hotel room, I think around 7 or 8. and we shot all Debbie's scenes and we shot Lloyd's scenes. And I was telling the other guy today, Lloyd was great. I was like, Lloyd, I could shoot all your scenes and you can get out of here, because I was trying to be respectful of him and everything. He goes, no, I'll be fine. But then as the night went on and I finally got down to his scene, he just kind of looked at me and he goes, Joel, we got to hurry up. I'm done now. And I went, okay, I'm sorry. That's why I asked you. So we shot Lloyd's scene, but he was great, because I go, Lloyd, can you do a scene where you throw yourself backwards in midair and hit the bed like I just shot you? Yeah. And he would go off script, which was funny. I was telling the other guys this today too. He would just start going, and Debbie starts laughing, and I'm laughing, and Dustin, at the whole hotel room, all the people we had, they were all laughing. And I go, Lloyd, and I'm thinking, I can't ask the president of trauma to do something I want. And I also seen Lloyd. I worked together. I directed him in a scene in a movie in Iowa called Body in a Dumpster, and he liked my direction, because the director took it out of my hands, and he looked at me and he goes, I like your direction better. But it throw him back on the bed. He got his scene done. Kathy, when they would get done, Kathy would pay Debbie, gave her an envelope with the money in it, and gave Lloyd his money in an envelope. And then I had one of the crew walk them back to their hotel rooms to make sure they were back safely. And then but Lloyd was awesome to work with. And then I'm not even down on the convention floor. They were showing, I think is it Return to Tromaville? Is that the one? Return to Nukem High? Return to
Nukem High, yeah.
And they were showing that in the movie room. Well, I couldn't be in the movie room. I'm out running my table, and somebody videotaped it. I just thought it was the coolest thing. Lloyd's on the videotape in front of this massive amount of people. That room is full to see a trauma movie, and of course Lloyd Kaufman, and Lloyd Kaufman's up there talking about me, and I saw later and I go, what a cool guy. He didn't have to do that. And Lloyd's up there going, me and Debbie were just with Joel Wynkoop, who is a great director. We were up doing scenes in his hotel room, and he is such a great director, and he did such great directing and acting, and I was just very pleased that I wasn't even there. You know how sometimes you might say, oh, Septum's in the audience, let me say something about it. But if you weren't there, they might not say nothing about you. But you're there, so they're like, oh, yeah, he's a great guy. I wasn't even there. I found this out later, and I'm thinking, what a cool guy Lloyd is to take that time and just saying something, nice about me like that. And but every time I've seen him, he's always been that way. He's always been a super cool guy to me. Very nice.
So like I said, I admit I need to watch more of work, but I like to be as honest as I can with everybody that I talk with. I think that's when I do therapy. I tell people, I say, I'm going to be upfront with you because of that. But I want to know more. When I saw that clown scene with the Christmas thing and all the props, was that from a movie that you did?
No, that's Kimberly Lynn Cole. She got a big house. I'm trying to remember where she lives. Arkansas, I think. And I asked her one time, I go, Kimberly, where do you get all these monsters and everything? She goes, oh, I buy them from different. I think there was a thing like here in Tampa, we have Howl Scream, and I think
so cool looking.
Yeah, she went to these places and she bought all these props. So we had her in Horror Tales Part 2. Phil contacted, but Kimberly, Phil and I both know Kimberly from way back in '99 when we did the first Horror Tales. And so Phil said, hey, I got Kimberly Lynn Cole again. And I'm like, oh, that'll be great. So Phil gave her the script, what she was supposed to do, and she shot that. And it was funny because before I seen that, I knew what she had because I seen the pictures of the monsters before. And already in my head, I knew what I wanted to do. And then we see her scene and I go, this is really going to look like I'm copying it, which it might be, and it is, or whatever. But my whole idea was to have her on a film set, just like she was in Horror Tales. And then she's supposed to be making her movie. And then here comes the alien, and the director is saying, hey, look, we got Kane Hodder in the movie. Because I just thought it would be cool to include Kane Hodder in it. And then she looks over and, oh, hi, Kane. And she's adjusting her breasts and everything. Oh, I'm so happy. And the director's like, oh. And then the kid, I thought it'd be funny. I make fun of myself. The kid comes out and goes, Kane Hodder ain't coming. Joel Wynkoop's check bounced. I don't know who that guy is. And then he says, excuse me, are you an extra? Because we don't have extras. And then the alien whips the gun down, starts shooting everybody and kills her and evaporates her. And it was just a way for Kimberly to be in it. And she loved it because I told her, I said, Kim, because I think I had almost finished casting everybody I was using. And I think we were on Facebook and we happened to be randomly talking about something. And she goes, I'd really like to be in one of your movies. And I go, if you want to shoot a scene, I'll write a scene. And I wrote it. The only thing different was it was supposed to be outside. So when I got the footage, I go, oh, now I got to go find a place that matches her inside, which I think I did. It was our my wife's mom and dad's house. So it's our house now. But it has the china cabinet in the background, and it kind of matches, you know, the other stuff aside from the huge monster.
Oh, yeah.
But it kind of matched the whole living room. So it looked like the alien was in the same room with them. But that's how Kimberly got her role in that.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, I want to see this film. I want to know what one this one was that he did, because I want to see it. One of my plans in the future is to do what your character was doing with the nunchucks and all. I was like, do an actual Joel Wynkoop film festival.
Yeah.
You know, once I can get friends to come over, just get them all in the TV room. You know, we get on this. I'll show off of my as you can see, my nice
awesome.
little setup here.
That's a lot of room. Oh man, look at all the tapes and DVDs.
With a couple of movies on, but you know, just have like a big old festival would be a great. That's one of my summer plans actually, because
cool.
Between that and a few other things, like I really like The Connection and your
neat.
officer in that, and like I said, Clownado. But I don't know. There's something about B movies I just have a fandom of.
Awesome.
So I keep thinking to myself, I need to keep doing this. I got Channel 99 somewhere. I've got it written down and I got to find it. It's hidden somewhere. I think it's in a collection of yours or something that I got. And
neat.
Now it's disappeared. Well, you can see why it's disappeared.
Oh yeah.
So funny thing in my head, this Judge Judy thing.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Now you saw where I went ahead and I cut every one of them and I did like a little.
That's great. I love it. We had that. My wife and I watch Judge Judy all the time. I put that one time. They go, "What? You watch Judge Judy?" And I go, "I'm telling you what, man. Judge Judy lays the law down because nobody gets past anything on her. Where me and you might be like, okay, yeah, Judge Judy's not like that at all." She goes, "Oh, that's a bunch of crap. Done. I'm done with you. Forget it. You're lazy and you're stupid." That's how you know. So I already love that. And I thought, wouldn't it be funny to have Sean C. Phillips's character, Emil, just completely obsessed with Judge Judy? And I thought that'd be good. And then you see me talking back to him. He goes, "Enough of Judge Judy. Judge Judy's not going to go chasing aliens around. She's got her court thing to do." And I just thought, and then for Phil's scene, I said, what would be great in here is to have, he goes, "Yeah, it's Team Judge Judy. You're Team Wapner," being Wapner from way back in the People's Court, way before Judge Judy. And I said, "Oh, that's just too." And I used to watch Judge Wapner. I remember the two guys, one case I was watching, the two guys are there talking to Judge Wapner, and he's going, "So what happened?" And the two guys, "Oh, the girl, she had all her poop in her duffel bag." But Wapner would lay down the law too. So I said, that's too funny not to have Judge Wapner mentioned at the same time with Judge Judy. And then Sean played it off so good. You know, he would even throw in his own line. He'd be like, "Oh, Judge Judy, I'm so in love with you. Oh, Judge Judy, I hope you're not married. Judge Judy, I gotta go save the world. I love you, Judge Judy." You know, that's my humor. I mean, you know, some people look at Monty Python and they go, "That's stupid." I love Monty Python.
Oh yeah.
You know, Multi Towers is freaking awesome. So that lays where, you know, my humor is, where people would be like, "Oh, that's stupid." Well, that's my kind of humor, you know.
So I like to imagine that Judge Judy and Kane Hodder were actually in the alien suits blasting everyone.
Yeah. Yep.
So I had one about the movies themselves, because I could tell definitely there was, the first one felt like it was, we've got to do something as a project. COVID's here, much like you said. It felt like that was a, let's do something, let's make something happen. And the second movie and the third movie felt like, I really liked what we did here. Let's build upon it.
Yeah.
and it definitely got more complex as time went. Like I love the convention scene in the third movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that the second movie, a lot of the fights there were pretty interesting in that old West-looking town, or like the stuff that Phil Herman shot, and just all the general effects. Then like everything in the kitchen sink went in to the third film.
Yep.
I felt like that must have been like the cost must have expounded.
It did. I remember getting in touch with Les McDowell. He owns Dry Creek, which is out in Parrish. It's that complete Wild West town. Now we use the wild in Nakota. We use that in my karate short. Steve Nakota, when he goes to fight a bunch of bikers that kidnap a little boy, he has to drive through a movie set, and we use that place. So that's how I got to know Les. But I also offered Les. He's the sheriff in the town. When I first kind of beam into the Old West, he's the sheriff that comes up with a gun on me. He's the owner of that place. And I said, Les, how much is that? And he goes, well, it's $300 a day. And I go, I need to spend $300 a day to go be at your place. And man, you can see I shot everything there. And it was funny. My wife said later, she goes, at noon, she goes, I made a bet with myself. She told herself, she goes, Joel's never going to get done by 5. And he's only rented the place till 5. The guy's brother comes home and he lives on the premises. So we got to be out of here. So 12 comes, 2 comes, all of a sudden it's 5 o'clock. Okay, I'm wrapped. I'm done. Just as the weather was rolling in, the last scene was me looking up. It's supposed to be a big spaceship there. And I go, come on, you aliens. I'll see you at the next location. That sky was nasty, scary hurricane sky when I did that scene. And I just finished it. I told my wife, I said, we got to get out of here. And that's when she told me, she goes, baby, at 12 o'clock, I told myself, you'll never get done with this. And I go, I fooled you, didn't I? And she goes, you did good. We backed the van up. We went through all these backwoods trails to get out of there. We hit the main highway, and it was like the freaking monsoon from hell hit. And the guy called me, and I'm on my way home, and he goes, Joel, I just want to make sure you got out of there okay. And I go, yeah. I go, it started storming. He goes, yeah, the whole place is flooded now. It's underwater.
Wow.
I go, I mean, not up to the top of the buildings, but, a good 2 feet. It was just, and you've seen it's all dirt ground, just completely full. I mean, we made it out of there within 7 minutes of getting caught in this deluge. I mean, and it was lightning. And fun because on the way home, it was a horrible ride home getting out of the weather from that area. But yeah, that place is awesome. But yeah, we just made it out in time. But I shot everything I could possibly shoot there. Every little corner, every around the corner, every little building.
So I saw the ending of this, and I feel like that lots of things could be built upon this. So I had a couple of just some kind of finishing questions before we wrap related to the end. The first is, were there any original Parsons versions that you created that you that may appear in future movies of yours?
Actually, I was going to have Parsons Cooper be the main character in my new short for Doomsday Stories that Phil and I are doing 187 times. That was supposed to be Parsons Cooper, another Parsons Cooper in this other timeline, in this other alternate reality, on another alternate Earth. And I think I just wanted to do another character. Because I think I did want to do it, but then I said, no, and I played Parsons in 3 different movies, just like I played Dan Hess in 9 different movies from the Truth and Air movies. I played Steve Nakota in the movie and the short, and then this one. And then so I played a lot of my characters over, which is fun to go back to. But I said Parsons Cooper, he's had 3 movies, and he even the scene when the security cameras are supposed to be capturing everything, you see 6 of me. You see 6 Parsons Coopers running around shooting monsters and stuff. I said, that's enough of Parsons. I said, I gotta do my character, which was originally, he was called Thomas Kirk in this script I wrote called 187 Times, and a time warp movie. Simply, it was supposed to be him going back trying to rescue his wife in the past, so she'll reappear in the future. And Phil's movie, it's Doomsday, it's Phil Herman's Doomsday Stories. Phil created it, but we're both doing it together.
was gonna say, I think I put money in the back to help back that one. That was
Oh, good. Thank you.
cool
Thank
thing.
you. Yeah.
If I
Yeah, the
remember.
same thing for that because we don't have a distributor for that. Phil and I are, the money is going to come from me and Phil. So let's say the whole thing costs $4,000, and let's just say we made $4,000. That's all going to the movie. Probably nothing left for us. We want to make a movie. That's all. That's what we want to do. We want to have some money to do it. So, but yeah, for Doomsday Stories, I just said, but it has to. But it also the part of Doomsday Stories, and I told Phil, I said, make sure everybody knows that it's connecting to his movie from 30 years ago called Hell on Earth: Arena of Death. That's what this all hinges on. Is what happened in Hell on Earth: Arena of Death is going to be explored in Doomsday Stories. And my character is trying to go back and get his wife, but he's also trying to keep the Hell on Earth concept from the movie from happening. And it's kind of a twist ending at the end, but it'll be a lot of fun doing that and approaching this kind of new character that can travel through time. Now, Cope Ransom was a time traveler, and Nick Hazard in Diary of Blood, and that's where I spread my characters out in different movies. There's a different short we did for the Wynkoop Tales. It was called Diary of Blood. Joe Sherlock wrote the original 6-page draft, but then I increased it. And then I was doing it for Joe, and I sent Joe all the footage. And Joe, I called him, like I would call him every month. And finally, like on the 6 months, he goes, Joel, it was more than that. It was like a year and a half. And Joe goes, I'm sorry, Joel, I've had it here sitting on my fireplace. I haven't got to it yet. And I go, Joe, I'm waiting to release that movie. I go, let me buy the footage back from you, buy the rights from you, and let me release it. And he said, that's fine. He apologized because I'm sorry. I get caught up with my own work. And I'm doing the same thing now. I'm trying to get this other stuff done before I get to 187 times. So I know exactly what Joe Sherlock was going. And I've known Joe Sherlock for years through Tim Ritter from all the movies we've done. And but I released that and wrote in a time traveler called Nick Hazard, which is my character in The Bite, also in Craiglon Incident. But in this version, my actor friend James Knowlton was playing him, but a completely different concept with the black jacket, the black shirt, a big mohawk, glasses, and he carried the stakes in his hands. But he also had a time thing where he says to one of the characters, the one character shoots him, knocks him down. He gets up, the character shoots him again, the cop. And the next time he gets up, the cop pulls his gun again. He goes, wait a minute, stop shooting me. And then he explains what's going on with the vampires. And he goes, I'm in the wrong timeline. And he hits his device and he goes into his own time universe. But it's my character that I played, but it's now being played by somebody else. So that's what I really love about it is these characters show up in different movies. And we did it in with Cope Ransom too. We've had him crossover like he did in this one. And that makes it enjoyable for me. And I think the people that have seen all my movies, they can relate to that. Like if they saw me in Truth or Dare and Wicked Games and Creep and Lost Faith and The Bite, they would watch the Craiglon Incident Part 3 and they'd go, oh shit, that's Nick Hazard. Oh, that's Cope Ransom. You know, they would see that stuff and I think they would get a kick out of it. I know I would if I was watching some guy I knew and I was relating all these movies to what he did. Like imagine seeing Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris is playing Braddock and from Missing in Action 3 and he's playing his the hero in the Terror and Silent Rage and they all met up somewhere. I'd be going crazy. I'd be going, oh, this is so friggin' awesome.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's one of the beauties of the multiverse. I mean, one of the things that was really neat about some of the Spider-Man content. I mean, and I'm not going to spoil anything for that because there are still some people who haven't seen the new Spider-Man, but I did like. I did like being able to see different versions of the same type of character.
Yeah.
And that's always there. I mean, I was all into things. I was probably the only one who was into the 2099 universe when that came out.
Yep. I remember that too. Yep.
You know, because I liked that version of Spider-Man. So I was I was all in. So I'm glad that they kind of draw that character back into the comics.
I was greedy. I wanted more. I was always with the Avengers when they fought Thanos in the comics. You know, and I understand that Sony owns this, Marvel owns this, Disney owns all that. Everybody argues over it. But in the comics, everybody in the entire Marvel universe was in on that battle. You know, in the Endgame thing. That everybody, man, the Hulk, Wolverine, the X-Men, Spider-Man, Nova the Human Rocket, everybody was there. And I read something online. They said that Nova was supposed to be in that battle with Thanos, and they were going to bring him in, but they were too worried that some people watching the movie would be going like, "Who's the guy with the gold helmet and the red star?" And I was like, "Oh, I wish that'd have been great."
Something
to have had
for
him
the
in there.
fans, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It was like when I saw Justice League. It showed the war in the past or whatever, and all of a sudden you see this guy flying and he's got a cape and the green coming out of his ring, and oh shit, that's Golden Age Green Lantern there. That wasn't advertised. It's something for the viewer to pick out and see that, you know, and that's what it was. You're watching it and go, well, who's that? Oh, that's Green Lantern from the Golden Age. So that stuff's kind of cool. I love that stuff.
So I'm my channel has been from the establishment to current all about physical media. I mean, like I say, you might have noticed I have a little bit of physical media.
Yeah.
And I love it when somebody takes the time to put it out. And I do apologize. I think I got on it a couple of times for just not having a lot on there, but I apologized in the third review about that, because to me, I never understood how difficult it was to put out something, even if it, like, I'm doing it on my own. I'm actually doing I'm actually in the middle of producing a movie for somebody, putting all the covers together, putting everything in, editing it, putting it on a disc. And this person wants every special feature under the moon.
Yep.
And I'm realizing how many challenges it is without professional knowledge and stuff like that to put it together.
Yep.
So just having it out is just an amazing thing. So again, I wanted to say, I hope that's like I said, I didn't mean to go into that at the beginning of those. Now that I know more about
you're fine. Physical media. To my left, I have a bunch of VHS tapes, and then I got my storage unit with over 3,000 VHS tapes. Then I got over here, I got all these DVDs in a china cabinet that's getting kind of buried with all the other stuff I got coming in, with an influx of my movies that I get to take to conventions. And then I got a bunch of DVD overflow. So I'm a big physical media fan too, of buying, you know, all these movies and just having all this stuff that I can have at my fingertips, not streaming, not up in the cloud, you know, something I can pull off the shelf, open it up, pull the DVD out, put it in the DVD player, push the thing and hope it still plays, and, you know, and be able to watch it. So as much as I am a guy making movies, I'm a guy that watches movies, because my concept is I hate it when I heard this about Johnny Depp. He makes the movies, but he never watches himself. And I'm always the first one to go, bullshit. You put that much time into Pirates of the Caribbean, your ass is going to be in the theater watching that damn movie. Because I was always like, and I think some other actors said, I think Sean Connery's like, I just act, but I never watch him. You know what? You don't belong in the business, Sean Connery, because you need to be, if you're making movies, you need to be watching movies. And that's a cheat, you know? So that's like playing golf and not watching it on television because you want to see how Jocko Ramono did at the grand opening or whatever. But I feel if you're acting, it's the same thing I feel about this, and I see this a lot. Actors will be in your movie, and then your movie comes out. Now, there's sometimes you just do a trade. You'll say, like, be in my movie, I'll give you a copy of the DVD. I prefer to say, be in my movie, I'll pay you. If you want to buy a copy of the movie, great. I think that's awesome. If you don't, you don't. However, if you don't want to spend $10 on a movie that you're in, you won't even support yourself as an actor. Don't expect anybody to support you as an actor. You won't even support yourself. And because a lot of them are like that, no, I'll just have my friend burn it for free. You won't even get a copy of your own movie. And I can actually see, all my movies, of course, it's a little different because I'll get 20, 30 movies and I get kind of a little break. But I always tell my distributors, me buying 30 copies is more money than you're going to make if you sold 4. And maybe you can't sell 4. I've had plenty of my distributors where I told, I think it was at Wild Eye, I wanted more copies. I think it was Crazed. And they go, Joel, that just didn't do that good. So we're not getting any more copies, or we're not making any more copies. And I tried my best to say, can you just run me another 100 and I'll buy them from you? And another movie was Demon through a Brain Damage. And I remember calling Darren about it, and he said, you got to talk to our girl. And I did, after I got my initial run of Crazed and Demon, I should have bought more, because then when I went to get more, they go, Demon just didn't do very well for us, so we're not making any more copies. And we're the ones that, ended up with it last. But they wouldn't sell me the rights, because I'll do that too. I'm like, look, I'll buy the rights from you. And they're like, no, or it's way too high. Give me 50 grand. And I'm like, okay, forget it.
Yeah. It's and looking at these the ending, because you've got them set up to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
I made a joke because Cool Duder was in something with somebody that I also really like, Brendan Mitchell, who did this movie Out and About, where they were both hanging around Vegas doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, oh, it's going to be the sequel to that. But I thought it's like, that might be an interesting thing. I mean, do we have a future to look forward to with Parsons, Dawes, and Emil blasting aliens or werewolves again?
Originally, and I just found the script. I was like cleaning up my office, and I go, oh my God, here's the script. A part of it's over here, and part of it was over there. And the part I found was, it wasn't the aliens, though. It was, I think it was supposed to be a werewolf. I don't think the alien was in it. I think it was just other monsters. It was after, supposedly, because the only thing I had shot for part 3 was way back 2 years ago, and that was the three of us on the phone, and I'm going, oh, I just had a big glass of chocolate milk. Let's meet in Vegas, baby. And did all this stuff about the Vegas. Well, I had that ending, and then I was talking to my wife. I said, I think I want to shoot a different ending where the aliens came and they gave Parsons a complete superhero outfit, and he flies off, and I'll get Phil in a super, and he'll fly up. Of course, it'd be all green screen, and get Sean into a superhero uniform. And my wife said, you should just keep it the way you've had it written since the very beginning. And the very beginning, the ending of the Craiglon incident was a werewolf. I forget what else there was. A werewolf, a mummy, and 2 other monsters sitting around a campfire, like in Truth or Dare. And they're discussing basically the same script about they're going to get the guys in Vegas, but with 4 different actors. And then Phil Herman even asked me this recently. He goes, was that you doing all those characters, or did you have 4 actors there with you? And I go, no. And that's another thing. I pretty much did everything. I was doing a lot of characters, like you said. I was putting on the mask. I was going out at 3:00 in the morning on Christmas morning, shooting at the bank and Publix, and the sheriff pulling up. One of the scenes I was shooting on top of a high mountain with the laser rifle, but I was pointing it at cars as they were going by, dressed as an alien. And I said, well, I think I can get up there and knock this out before the cops even hear about it. I came off that hill. I was completely surrounded by 9 sheriff cars. They were all there. They were all out of their cars, wondering what was going on. And I went right to the sheriff, and he's laughing and he can't stop laughing. He sees me unzip it. He's laughing at the rifle. The rifle's like taped together. I pull the mask off. I'm sweating like crazy because I would go do all the aliens everywhere. In 103, one of my filmmaking friends that made the connection, he wrote me, and he goes, Joel, I'm very worried about you. Don't you ever, I forbid you to go out in a suit like that. He goes, it's 103 degrees. You're dying, because I shot the video in my car with the air blasting. I go, oh my God. And the sweat's pouring off. It was Nick Naylor. And he goes, Joel, don't ever do that again. You scare me. I think you're going to die out there. Well, I came down, the sheriff's department is waiting. I unzip the thing. I get the mask off, and they're all laughing at me. Or they go, one of them goes, are you Joel Wynkoop? I go, yeah, that's me. He goes, yeah, dirty cop, no donut, right? And I go, yeah, that's me. And they knew about that. And so I told them all what happened. I said, honestly, I thought I could run up there. I know better. I said, but I ran up there, set the camera up. I said, no one's going to pay attention. He goes, no, we got like 25 calls that aliens were invading the earth. So he goes, we all got dispatched at once to where the spaceship landed, because everybody was calling the police station saying, there's an alien on the hill. He's shooting at traffic. And then I set my camera up because I thought I'd be sly and catch them in the background. And when I hit the button, I thought I turned it on, but I turned it off. And so I turned around. I had the whole conversation with all the sheriffs in the scene, like 9 of them. And I'm talking and everything. And when I got all done, they're slowly leaving. And a couple of them I gave copies. I think I had Lost Faith with me, and I gave them that. And they were like, oh, thanks a lot. We won't bust you again. And they all left. And I went to get the camera, and I got in the van. I go, yeah, see the footage I got of the cops. And I turned it on, and there was nothing there. I go, oh, I forgot to turn it on. But that was great. But the ending, The whole ending, I went back, shot it by myself, the same place where we had the 3 superheroes where he could blow the laser out of his mouth, and the guy had a laser cannon, and that was Alex the Pug Porte. He's a wrestling, WFE wrestling big name star back in the 80s, big time wrestler, Alex the Pug Porte. And then Thomas Analek, who actually appeared on the original Star Trek episodes. And I got them down there. We shot their scenes. They had left, and a couple days later, I went back up, and that's when I put the werewolf, and I had the script in front of me. The camera would be here. The script would be right into the camera, and I would read through the mask onto the script to get the lines, because it's just me, only me. I get done with that scene, and then I take it off, take the mask off. In fact, some guy was up there with the werewolf mask, and he came up to go fishing, and I hear him go, "Oh!" And I told him later, he goes, "Oh, I fucked up your movie, didn't you?" And I go, "No, it's still in there. I'm going to use that. That'll be the cry of the werewolf." So I did all the characters, and they say, that's what the Crom Lee goes, "So they are going to Vegas, are they?" And then the werewolf's like, "We will meet you and get them." And then a buddy of mine wrote me that was in the movie, Warner, and he goes, "Are you going to do a Craiglon 4 in Vegas?" Like, everybody's thinking that, but my wife is like, no more Craiglon, no more Craiglon. It's over. 3 of them's enough. No more. So no, I probably will never revisit that again.
Well,
Except that character.
You never know. If you've got a movie going in Vegas, you could always have them running through it as a
Yeah.
in the background.
I green screen Vegas. Somebody send me some green screen in Vegas, and we'll sit here in my house and run past the green screen.
But yes, I did really enjoy running through the trilogy, and again, I thank you very much for your time today. A lot of
Thank
great
you, man. Thank you.
material here today. I know you've got a lot of stuff that's in the works. We heard a little bit about Doomsday Stories and 187 Times, which it looks like it's already out. I've seen a lot of it on Facebook, but I didn't know what it was actually. Was it actually out now?
187 times. No, that's just getting started. That's going to be in Doomsday Stories, the thing Phil Herman and I are doing. But I kind of haven't done, I've only done a few shots on 187 times and only casted a few people, because this other venture, and I'm kind of like, oh, I don't want to say anything. I'll jinx it and something will happen, because I'm trying to get it done for Tampa Bay Screams, which is June 8th, next month. I got to get these DVDs back, because something my guy in Minnesota said, well, the conversion rate isn't working in our machines. And the one guy told me, because I took the format from a VHS from years ago, it's all these different sources, which my wife is saying, well, you got a bunch of sources on Craiglon incident. I go, I guess because it's more intellectual compared to some old VHS. But he got all my masters and none of them worked. So now I'm running out of time. So I went to this guy in St. Pete, and he goes, well, I had to take them and convert them and do a new conversion, and I promise they'll work. And I'm like, I hope so, because I'll be coming back to you for my money if they don't. Then they got to go to Minnesota. Then they go through duplication. But Jake at Copycats did tell me, he goes, Joel, the turnaround will be super fast. You get me the DVDs. If they work, I'll have them to you probably the next day. And I was like, oh, that'd be great. So once that's done and those are in my hands, I'll go straight into 187 times full gun right into it, because I got the studio I want to shoot in Orlando. I got a high rise in Orlando I'm shooting in for where the guy's home is. And then I got all these other scenes I have to shoot with the other actors where he keeps traveling. One of the scenes is he travels back in time. His wife dies in his arms, so he failed. Bad guys are attacking him. He gets out back to his place, but then he goes back to try again. He tells us his onboard computer, take me back a few, minutes earlier than this, kind of like Marty going back to save Doc Brown at the mall before it happens. But he gets back, but now the timeline's changed. So the one person he's fighting is now 5 people he's fighting. And like Butterfly Effect too, every time he goes back, it's screwed up more. And there is a little twist, but it's not as bad as, putting a bomb in a mailbox and blowing that lady up and the baby up and shit. But it's a happy ending, kind of cool. It is still a twist, but it all ties into Phil Herman's Hell on Earth Arena death 30 years ago, and it ties into my original story, which was just trying to save his wife. He's saving his wife, but he's also trying to make a new timeline for the world. Actually, it's going to be said in there that every screw up that has ever been done, he's gone back in time and corrected everything. The war, everything that's going on, he's corrected it. And then something happens at the end where it's just a big mess and it all comes blasting back in on him.
So, is there anything that you would like to, before we end this, is there anything that you would like people to know about or to go out to find or look up recently for you?
Well, just if they're interested in getting in touch with me, just see me on my Facebook page, which I think is the greatest invention since the GPS, that you put in your car. They can get in touch with me just under my name, Joel D. Wynkoop, like it says right there. Some people go to my actor, Joel D. Wynkoop. I rarely look at that. And I got 9 other Facebook pages for all my movies. Not all of them. That'd be like 200 movies, but about 8 of my movies. But I rarely look at those. But the one that's got my name right here, Joel D. Wynkoop, I do look at that pretty much every day. I send birthday greetings out to everybody when it's their birthdays. But I usually use it for marketing, talking about my movies, what I'm doing. I am at my limit on Facebook. It's 5,000 people. So when I get a message from somebody, I ask them, well, how'd you hear about me? And they might say, well, I got some land in India I want to send you. And I go, no, thanks. And then delete them out. But if they're like, I saw you in Creep back in 1995. I loved you in that. I thought it was awesome. Then I go, cool. At least I know they knew who they're talking to and it's not somebody hacking. So I'll accept them. But now at the 5,000 friends, I can't accept them. So what I do is, if they say, yeah, I remember I saw you in Wicked Games and I really like to be your friend. I'd like to be on your page. I'll go find somebody that I've got nothing in common with that, has sent me a request and I accepted it without ever asking who they were. I never hear from them. They don't know anything about me. Then I'll delete them. And half the time they don't know, or they don't even care anyway. If I said, hey, Jocko Moreno, I deleted you on Facebook. I won't give a shit. So I'll make room for somebody new. If they know who I am and they could tell me some history, but when they're just like, oh, I got some soap I want to sell you, I'm not interested. I'll go to Publix for that.
So, well, thank you again for being on with me today. There's a lot of information today. I'll be editing and hopefully putting this up here. I definitely look forward to it. I know David Streggy over at Inside Movies Galore and Delusions of Grandeur. He does 2 of them. He's the reason why I found out more about you, other than, like I said, Clownado I'd already known about and I'd watched digitally, but I really wanted it. So, well, cool. How can I get more stuff with him in it? And Dave's like, contact him directly. He'll send you this stuff. Just say, hey. So it's like, that's how I learned. So
oh, David's great. I'll tell you, Clownado, I was so busy at the time when I did Clownado. Todd saw me, he was at the convention with me, Tampa Bay Screams, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, and the first one. And he said, I want to put you in one of my movies one day. And I said, great. And he comes up to me at the table about 5 hours later and he goes, you want to go shoot that scene now? And I go, what, now? And he goes, yeah. And it was Dreaming Purple Neon. I'm at the end after the credits. I still haven't watched it yet. I still need to pull it out and watch it. But I'm in the end credits roll. And then I come out of my hotel room and there's demons and monsters attacking me. And I told him later, which I always do, I wish I would have played it as myself, but being really obnoxious about, getting on the phone with my agent. And, you don't give me enough time. And, what I had this whole elaborate thing and Todd loved it. He goes, oh, I'd have loved to have done that. He goes, why didn't you think of that then? I go, I don't know, Todd, I didn't think of it. But all the monsters are coming and attacking me. Well, then Todd said, I got something for you in my new movie. It's a truck driver. And I go, okay. And that was Bone Hill Road. But for some reason it didn't happen. But then the next thing he told me, he goes, I want you to be in my movie, Clownado. And the first chance I got to read the script is when I was on the plane flying to Missouri. I read the whole script, got my lines down, made my little index cards. You always see my index cards in the movies. This is a little trivia for you. If you see me in the movie in Connection, you'll see some index cards. Those are my lines. I can pull them out and look and put them back away. They're in pretty much all my movies. You'll see index cards, and that's what. If someone goes, "Where are those index cards?" They were in there last. Those are my lines. I can pull them out and look at them.
I almost thought I wouldn't have thought that you were looking over at them. I
know. I never looked at them.
Definitely.
But once the guy says cut, I whip those cards out and I go over to make sure I got my lines down. Or like for Herschel Gordon Lewis in the Uh-Oh Show, I went and locked myself in one of the in-between rooms, this gigantic place we had to shoot in. I mean, big budget. And I just locked myself in this room for 2 hours and went over my lines. When I came out, because Herschel said we shoot at 11, I was in there from 9 to 11. Walked straight out to Herschel. He called action. I went right on, had the lines perfect, because I spent all that time trying to get those lines down. But I always have those instead of carrying a big script. I learned this from Joe Davison, who's from Stranger Things. He would carry his on index cards, and I learned it from him. So they'll always be in my pocket. I pull them out, read them, then I put them away. But yeah, so I mean, but just back to the whole Facebook thing. Get in touch with me there. Oh, when I was on Clownado, I was starting to say about the airplane ride. Then I get in the lines down, but I was writing the script and I was changing some stuff. And as soon as Todd meets me at the airport and we're getting my luggage, I go, Todd, I hope you don't mind. I said, I changed some of my dialogue to bring some more to the character. I go, I hope that's okay. He goes, are you kidding? That's why I hired you. You're good at this. And so I got to do all that stuff. In fact, he ended up giving me on the Clownado disc, there's a whole thing about Hawk. My character's name is Hawk, but it says the Hawk Reel or Hawk's Obsession or something. But he's just got me going crazy in there. When I'm in the cockpit of the plane, I'm going, I'm giving her all she's got, Captain. She's breaking up. And Todd just let me go. So Todd was freaking awesome to me. I mean, put me up in a hotel, got me back and forth to set, took me out to dinner, to lunch, to breakfast, got my own stuff for my own refrigerator. So the days I wasn't with him, I had food to eat. And I mean, the man just treated me like, he couldn't have treated me any better if I was Tom Cruise. He just really, really took care of me, paid me well, fed me well, great time on Clownado. Awesome.
Well, I think that he got the better end of the deal there.
He did, yes. Now, money-wise, he did, not by getting me, but he got a lot of money doing Clownado, so good for him.
Well, let's see here. So, everybody, if you can, check him out. Definitely check out those movies. You can check out my Craiglon incident videos. So I do say always check out the review portion first, but before you go into it, please watch the movie. Yeah. Support people who are doing these works, because to me, this is where the creativity happens. A lot of people just keep rehashing ideas these days because they just want to see what will sell, but the real creativity comes with people who actually are willing to take chances. And this was quite the feat to do that.
I think, like you said, I think part 3 was like, it's almost like I had a budget of 80 grand. And I spent 10 on part 1 and 20 on part 2, and then 80 grand on part 3 because I had so many effects and storylines and just like Phil told me when he watched it, he said, man, him and his wife were talking. He goes, Joel's getting so technical. I don't even, he's got so many big words and alternate universes and crossovers and this and that. And Phil's another one. He went out into it just hit New York whenever he shot his scenes. But it was some big, nasty, horrible storm moved in. And even his wife was like, we can't go out in this. And he goes, no, I got to do this for Joel Wynkoop. I got to be out there and shoot these scenes. He needs me. And that's when he's got the lasers in his hand. If you look at that background, before we changed it, that was a dark, nasty sky. And then Gerardo just put his colors in and his different lightning bolts. But when Phil's running around there going, bam, bam, with his hands and fighting the big monsters, he goes, Joel, he goes, I was screaming because I had to get over the wind. The wind was whoosh, so bad. He goes, I'm screaming over the wind to compensate. And I blew my voice out. He goes, I did everything for you. I go, I know you did. I appreciate it. So that, that's determination. That just like when I was there, but when the Thunder, my wife and I were at the Wild West show, when all that Wild West town and all that was nasty clouds moved in, Phil and Nancy were out. Nancy's filming him. And Phil's shooting it just when all that nasty weather wore in that they shouldn't have even been out in. He goes, we got in our car and raced home and lightning and the rain came, almost the same thing as we had the Wild West town. So, I mean, you can see it in Phil's scene because you can see his hood blows up on his head and you can hear the wind. And so just a great time all around. It's you put so much, sometimes you can put so much more into a no budget movie than if you were doing a great big Avengers movie. One thing, they're all poor, the guy who plays Iron Man. I can't think of his name now. Oh, poor him. He's got to be Iron Man in that hot suit. He's getting $8 million to be in that hot suit. What about Joel Wynkoop's getting nothing for being in that alien white painter suit with a mask on, and he's dropping 80 pounds because he's dying inside of it? That's working hard for your craft. Screw you, Robert Downey Jr. $8 million. It's so tough in that Iron Man suit. Put this Craiglon suit, put the mask on, and work for me for free. That's determination.
Now that would be the biggest secret of the film. Robert Downey Jr. is the real alien in all of those scenes.
Robert Downey Jr. is in the. He almost turned down Avengers because Joel wouldn't let him. He had to decide whether he wanted to be in the Avengers in the Craiglon incident.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. I might have one question after I end this broadcast, if that's okay. But
Yeah.
I will go ahead and wrap it up.